the grand mission of this brand is to ensure that the Haenyeo culture can live on. The Haenyeo culture and the Haenyeo community have been experiencing real struggle with their finances as climate change and runoff from agricultural chemicals from the land made their way into the sea. The productivity of the ocean decreased significantly, and that came as a vital shock to the Haenyos finances as they couldn't harvest as many seafoods as they used to. So they had to resort to other means of getting income, such as manually working to making these beautiful dolls, which they are beautiful, but they also take a very long time and is not very efficient. Therefore, I thought of ways of how I can put in a helping hand in this matter as an admirer of the Haenyeo culture and also as a resident of this island, as a member of this community. I thought of ways of how I can contribute to this matter. And an idea that I came up with was making this soap. This soap is very easy to make, and it also has good ingredients, and because of its aesthetics, it is very appealing and tempting to tourists too. So right now, how this business works is we're in charge of the market design, we're in charge of the product design, we're in charge of the recipe and the production, and it's the Haenyeo that take on the role of selling the product itself. However, in future, we're looking to expand the role of the Haenyeo so that not only us, not only myself, but also the Haenyeo can put in the hand in developing the soap and making it, as well as distributing it to a larger portion of the island, so that more and more Haenyeo can benefit from this business and the culture can live on for longer for future generation. To give you a more detailed perspective into our product, so this is our finished product. It comes in this beautiful packaging that is very flowery and is very attractive to consumers and tourists especially. So we put in so much thought into developing this product. So first off, it contains the best ingredients in the market that are from the start to the end, from the base and for the base melt and pour soap base to our extra touch of pumpkin powder. We use the most premium ingredient in the market that is very safe and natural to use and very good for dogs. And we also put a lot of thought into the marketing aspects and the aesthetics aspect of the product, which is basically what the tourists are most looking for. So we came up with this idea of a donut-shaped soap that is very convenient, not only for aesthetics, but also for practical use. So whenever you're washing a dog, it would be a common experience that you would have your soap resting on a plate like that. And in that case, it doesn't last very long because it is very easy for it to kind of wash off and kind of disintegrate and be mushy, and that way the soap can't last very long. However, with our donut-shaped construction, it is able to be hung on walls, and that way you can use it while you're washing, and you can just hang it back when you're not. So in that way, it lasts very long, and that's good for the environment too. And also it's got a very appealing color. I like to call it banana/pineapple, which looks honestly very appetizing, but obviously you shouldn't eat it because it's just a soap. But keep in mind that it actually wouldn't cause that much harm even if you ate it in small quantities, because it's made out of such good quality ingredients that are some are organically certified by organizations, and others are edible ingredients like pumpkin powder and honey. So it's very safe. Now we're going to run you through the specific of the makings of the Jeju Island soap. So first, we have the melt and pour soap base. This will be the bulk of our products. So we're going to chop these up, and we're going to turn this whole huge block into these dices. As you can see, they look very scrumptious, but you're not allowed to eat them, even though they're very safe. And these is weighed to be 1.8 kilograms, and this is going to be sent straight to the oven to melt. While that happens, we're going to measure out our key ingredients: the pumpkin powder, the glycerin, the honey extract. And we're going to mix these with the molten soap base, and we're going to give it a real good even mix so that it turns out to be this beautiful banana color. And we're going to pour that mixture into this mold, and we're going to let it cool. And once it cools, we're gonna have this kind of setup. We're gonna take out each solidified piece carefully from the mold, and then we're gonna have a string go through the middle of the donut so that it can be hung on bathroom walls. This is a key characteristic of the Jeju Island soap. It comes very handy in bathroom conditions. And once that's done, we're going to send it off to this beautiful package. We have the logo here too. And that's it. And this will be distributed in local vendors that are run by Haenyos, and they're going to be sold there for their profits. All of our profit is sent directly to sustaining the Haenyeo culture and the Haenyeo community, because our brand is for the Haenyeo. And you might be wondering, how did I all come to create this idea and this brand? Well, first, I had utmost admiration for the Haenyeo culture, the Haenyeo community, which is a community that I kind of grew up with, living in Jeju for multiple years. But then as an international student, I didn't quite get to acclimate to the rest of the island. However, I used my curiosity to go around the island and really immerse myself in the lives of these Haenyeo. And that experience was life-changing for me. I learned how the indigenous people of Jeju lived before foreigners like myself came to learn English and go to international schools. And their life story was quite one of sheer wit, resilience, and perseverance, which I find great admiration for. However, that community was facing severe decline due to lowered productivity in the ocean, which is a product of climate change and other man-made factors like marine pollution and runoff of agricultural pesticides, which is very common in Jeju Island. So therefore, I kind of thought of how I can help put a helping hand in the situation. The idea that I came up with was to create a soap brand that can turn all the profit to the Haenyeo so that they can continue in their worldwide celebrated profession of Haenyeo and keeping the Haenyeo culture alive so that the future generation like myself can learn from it. And here was our first prototype. It was made using a different soap base, as the MP is actually made from the CP soap base, which is very hard to work with, as you can tell from this very scrappy construct. It's very kind of slabby, which is not good. And also, you might be wondering what these green patches are inside the soap. That's actually a ground up powder of this cheonggak, which is a seaweed that the Haenyeo harvest from the sea. And this is a really good idea because I wanted to incorporate more local element to it, and the Haenyeo can seize extra profit from giving us the cheonggak for the ingredient. So it was a really good idea. However, it didn't quite work out because the cheonggak powder, as soon as it met with water, it grew to like 1,000 times its original size, and it couldn't be properly integrated to the soap, and it ended up looking like some moss or some molds and blue cheese, which no one likes to see there in the soap. So that was a no-no. And then I fortunately stumbled upon the NP soap base, which is a more workable medium, and therefore from there I added the ingredients, I researched, and then I read this idea through a Haenyeo who's a friend of mine that I befriended over the years, and that's how this idea came to be. And I'm super excited to deliver this idea to the Haenyeo today and get it going and seeing that in the market.